Prime time on Amazon as the orange and blue go toe-to-toe with the upstart kids from New Jersey. We get you set for the Oilers of the Devils here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the pregame show here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola with you inside the EST Satellite Studios in downtown Edmonton. Hernan Salas back at EST HQ on the city's west side. And Matt Kassian will be joining us for Game Changes, our game analyst. In a little bit, we had to do a little bit of tinkering with today's timeline because we are starting and cutting into the Reed Wilkins show. It is a 6:30 start Mountain Time. It is an Amazon Prime game. And yes, that means no Sportsnet, no telecast on regular cable for Oilers fans. So you'll have to watch it on Amazon Prime. A little bit different. We're going to get Amanda Stein on here from the Devils broadcast team, and we'll get the scoop on them. And then Cass, he's a little tied up right now on his way back from some daddy duties. He'll join us just after 6 p.m., so kind of have to flip things around. Of course, GCL Diesel, your providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. Join the conversation as always. Get at us in the text line, 780-218-9999. And then, of course, you're watching on YouTube. You might want to hit that thumbs up. We appreciate it. And you can chime in on the nasty chat. The Oilers, winners of back-to-back games, 6-5-1 on the season. New Jersey, 7-5-2 thus far. And it should be a good game. This will be, like I said, a test of the Oilers' team speed. We've been talking about it all season long. Are they slower? They don't have the burners that they had that they possessed on the roster a few years ago, especially looking at guys like McLeod being outgoing, Warren Foegele leaving, Dylan Holloway leaving. Those were fast skaters. But the Oilers keep telling us it's high and move the puck, efficiency, quickness that way. Doesn't mean you have to be the quickest boots, but we'll see how that theory holds up against a very quick and solid New Jersey Devils club. All right. Get those texts in. Big Uke says, Tommy G, game day. Let's go. 6 o'clockers are on the menu tonight. Have a great show. Thank you, Big Uke. Enjoy those delicious 6 o'clocker loggers. Hernan Salas is busy back at Global HQ. Nat, so you're going to check in, say hi really quickly. You doing all right?
Yeah, I'm
there.
Good.
He is.
Can you hear me?
Buddy. I hear you. You look good. You sound good.
Just waiting on Amanda. So as soon as she checks in, we'll get her on here. But yeah, fun game. Looking forward to it. It's going to be, they're a high-flying group. They're third in goals for, Tommy. The Oilers are going to have to be sharp. They're coming off a couple days rest. Practice in between there as well. But I'm looking forward to this game. I'd like to see a little more guys step up for the Edmonton Oilers here. I know we talked about it last night on the post-game show. Can't always be dry, but that driving the charge right now, and you can't be too upset about that. I'm intrigued with Calvin Pickard, see how he responds against a really good team, and then Stetcher and Derek Ryan draw back in for Drake and good old Travis Dermott there. So it's going to be a fun game, Tom.
Yes, it will be. All right, Amanda's going to be joining us. I just texted her in a minute or two here to get you set from the Devils' point of view. Let's go to lineups now for the Oilers. Nugent-Hopkins between Skinner and Hyman. Draisaitl between Podkolzin and Arvidsson. Henrique between Janmark and Brown. And then Noah Philp expected to center. Corey Perry and Derek Ryan looks like he will get back into action, likely taking out Drake Gazzola. We'll confirm that as the teams hit the ice for warm-up. It was an optional today, super optional for the Oilers. Ekholm paired up with Bouchard, Nurse with Stetcher, Kulak with Emberson, and out for the Oilers, anticipated tonight, Gazzola and Dermott. As for the Devils, Nico Hischier centering Timo Meier and Dawson Mercer. Jack Hughes between Andre Palat and Jesper Bratt. Eric Holla with Paul Cotter and Stefan Nason. Justin Dowling between Curtis McDermott and Tomas Tatar. On defense, Brendan Dillon with Dougie Hamilton. Jonas Siegenthaler with Jonathan Kovacevic. And Luke Hughes with Brett Pesci. No Simon Nemitz for the Devils, it looks like tonight. Brings us to your starting goalies for the Oilers. Calvin Pickard, the 32-year-old, getting the nod. He is 3-1 this season, 248 goals against average, .897 save percentage in 5 appearances this season. Lifetime versus the Devils. Pickard, 4-0 record, 147 goals against average, 944 save percentage with 1 shutout in 5 games versus Jersey. And at the other end of the rink, it is 34-year-old Jake Allen, 2-1-1 this year, 325 goals against average, 876 save percentage, 1 shutout in his 4 games. And then lifetime versus the Oilers, Allen, 10-9-2, 268 goals against average, 905 save percentage in 21 appearances versus Edmonton. That brings us to the Advantage Sports Medicine injury report. At Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy, they treat you like the pros. Their multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. Whether you're recovering from an injury or looking to enhance performance, they treat you like a pro using the same locker room approach trusted by the best in the game. For the Oilers, Connor McDavid, still 2 to 3 weeks is his timeline. Ankle injury. That's officially. We talked to him earlier today. He did take the optional morning skate. Good signs there. I posted some video of it on Twitter, and he didn't rule out playing this weekend, so we'll see how he progresses. Also out for the Oilers, Evander Kane, LTIR, abdominal surgery. As for the Devils, Nathan Bastian listed as day-to-day with a jaw issue, and Curtis Lazar, the former Oil King, day-to-day with a knee. So there you go. That is your Advantage Sports Medicine injury report, as well as the lineups. She is ready to rock. She is Devils reporter Amanda Stein down at Rogers Place. Let's bring her on, Nancito, as we get ready for the first Amazon Prime game in Oilers history. And Amanda, we've got a lot of Oilers fans going, I can't watch this game on TV. What the heck is going on? This is the new world, right? This is how things are with the digital streaming.
I've had a couple of people ask me as well, how can we watch this? But luckily, for the Devils fan base, it's a little different because a lot of them are down in the U.S., so
Yes.
I don't really have that problem. But yeah, I mean, it's certainly, it's the new world that we live in. You can't just find everything in one place.
You have to have a subscription to literally everything. Single thing. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go into the Devils here because they're 1-1 on this 3-game Western Canadian road trip. How much did that extra day maybe help them out? I know they were in the mountains. You guys were out in the mountains. Maybe that helped them kind of get over starting the season in Prague. Like, how would you describe the extra day between games?
Necessary, I think, is probably the best way. I mean, if you look at the schedule right now, if you sort of go down the NHL, the Devils have played the most out of anyone. Again, as you mentioned, starting the year in Prague, and then just it's been nonstop for this group. Very little practice time, very little downtime. It's almost been, a game every other day. Eventually, it'll all even out in the next 2 weeks or so. But having that added day 2 days ago, it was now, the team went up to Banff, and it was just a nice opportunity for everyone to sort of take a little mental break from the game, and then practice yesterday in Canmore on our way back to Calgary, and then headed over to Edmonton. So I think it really did help. They did some, more team bonding. There's been a lot of it, and it's kind of necessary when you have a group like this one that there's so many new players on this team.
Right. How would you say the players are amalgamating with the group and their new head coach, Sheldon Keefe? Because there's a lot expected of this Devils team this season after a tough year last year.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's kind of been seamless. One of the things that you notice this year, when you're around New Jersey, is that most of the guys were really in 2-3 weeks before training camp opened. And I think a lot of that was purposeful, right? It wasn't just the new players who were coming in to get to know and understand the surroundings. It was a lot of the returning players who wanted to get to know those players as well and start building something. So I know that was a priority for a lot of these guys in the offseason to make sure that they were back, relatively early to start getting that process underway. And it's kind of been seamless. I mean, everybody, I'm around a lot, and it just looks like everybody has sort of clicked really well. Tom Fitzgerald really prioritizes bringing in people with strong characters, but also just really good people. It's something that he really focuses on and is important to him. And I think when you have that, it's easier for everyone to sort of find out how they gel and where they gel in a team surrounding.
Amanda Stein joining us now, Devils team reporter, as we get you set for tonight's Oilers-Devils matchup. All right, Amanda, Jake Allen gets the call in goal tonight instead of Jacob Markstrom. What do you think led to that decision?
Well, Jacob's played a lot, first of all, so that that's a big one. He's played the last couple of games in a row, and you can't just, lean on one goaltender the whole way. We know that. We know it's a new type of NHL, and I don't even know if it's new anymore because it's been a while now that
Right.
things have gone that way. And then also Jake does need, the other Jake Allen does need to play as well. I've been told that Markstrom's record here in in Edmonton is not the best.
No, it's
but,
not.
But you know what? That doesn't always play a factor. New team, new people in front of him. But really, you have to be able to manage the schedule and just the way things have played out. This is the way things are going. And so they have full confidence in both their goaltenders. Different types of goaltenders, certainly, but they lean on both of their experience a lot.
Amanda, the forwards for the Devils, I look at them and I go, wow, they're young, they're talented, they're quick, and they play an up-tempo game. Is that a fitting way to describe this Devils forward unit, even the team as a whole?
I do, but I think I would disagree in a sense with the young. Like, perhaps young by age, yes.
Right.
But you've got a lot of young players in this lineup with a lot of experience already. And I think that that's more valuable than how old you are in this league, right? Like, you look at Nico Hischier and Jesper Bratt are both in their 7th or 8th year. Jack is in his 6th year. Even players who have suffered, some of those guys who have had injuries, they've still got, 300 or so games. So and they've been through a lot with the ups and downs. So yes, I would agree. They have tons of talent. They're quick. They're fast. They're smart, but young by age only, not necessarily by experience. And I think that they would want to be looked at that way because for many years they've sort of had that moniker of they're young, they're learning, they're figuring it out. And certainly there's a degree of that that's still underway, but they've got a lot of experience and hoping to sort of just use that going forward here now.
Amanda, on the back end, Dougie Hamilton, having him healthy, how much of an impact does that have on the defense? And then just what has his game been like early on this season?
So he's struggled offensively, which is obviously where, he makes his bread and butter. Just knowing what type of shot he has. And Sheldon Keefe talked a little bit about it this morning. Dougie right now is stuck on one goal, but he just sort of needs to have a little more confidence in that shot of his. And I think that a lot of that really comes from the injury that he had last year, right? So he was out the majority of the year with a torn pec, and, that has to do with your movement. That has to do with trusting your body in a way. So with Dougie, it will come. He just needs to maybe shoot a little bit more, particularly on the power play, and defer a little less. But, having Dougie back is a huge deal for this team. Last year, it was a big struggle without him because when he was out, the age, you want to talk about young, that was really the defense. And there's still, young guys like Luke on the defense now. But what Tom Fitzgerald did is to sort of surround some of the older guys like Dougie with other older players that have a little bit more experience in Brett Pesce, Brendan Dillon. And I think that that's really helped balance things on the back end. And doesn't mean, everything lies on Dougie's shoulders.
Right. Amanda Stein joining us now, Devils team reporter. You can text us 780-218-9999. And if you're watching on YouTube, get into the chat. We want to hear from you. If you're listening on iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Apple Music, talking about subscriptions, as well as EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Chime in on your way home from work. Maybe you're headed to the game. We want to hear from you. All right. Sheldon Keefe, you mentioned him a little bit. How does he differ from what we saw the last few years from Lindy Ruff? How would you describe his time thus far behind the Devils bench?
So I don't want to, I don't think it's fair to do a compare and contrast just because they are different types of coaches. But what I can tell you, what Sheldon has really brought is a no nonsense, you must work, otherwise you're going to, deal with the consequences kind of attitude. And he's so incredibly detailed. And one of the things that I've really noticed is that, obviously I'm not in the meetings, but from talking to the guys, that he's so detailed in the meetings before practice, before games, all that, so that they don't waste a second of energy when they're at practice, sort of figuring out what to do. Everything's kind of set in stone. So he's a real prepared coach for every sort of scenario. And it's been a bit different in the sense that because of what we were talking about before, the schedule and Prague and all that, there hasn't been a ton of practice time. So he's had to use some of his morning skates as an opportunity to do like little bits of teaching here and there. And that's not always that easy, but the guys have been really responsive to him. He expects a lot, and they're delivering a lot.
Hey, are you pumping his tires because he's right around the corner right now?
No, he's not around the corner, but I did check. I did check. Well, it's funny because like when you mentioned Dougie, he had just walked by too. So I was like, oh God, please don't tell me Sheldon's next to me.
I know you're by the locker room.
He's been yeah, I am. Yeah. But he's been awesome to work with. Honestly, he's a great guy to work with, and it's been a real pleasure.
That's good to hear, and I appreciate the honesty, regardless if he's right around the corner or not. Okay, Amanda, what kind of game are you expecting tonight as the Devils wrap up this Western Canadian road trip and the Oilers kick off a brief 2-game homestand?
Well, how fun is this, right? Two types of teams that have sort of that very similar run and gun offense, wanting to, or having the talent to do that, regardless of whether McDavid is in the Oilers lineup or not. So this is a team for New Jersey that was shut out in their last game, not something that typically happens to this team. So certainly they're going to be wanting to dial in their offense a little bit here and end off this road trip on a really fine note. I'm excited. It's always fun. I really like the two run and guns of both teams.
Yeah, I still think back to that game a couple of years ago where the Devils scored twice in 7 seconds and totally flipped the game on its head.
I'll never forget it. Yeah. So, and they're still capable of doing that. They still have the skill, and they're still capable of doing that. So we'll see. Find out.
Bring it on. I'm looking forward to it. Amanda, great hit. Thank you for doing this. I know you got to go do a bench interview right away here, so I'll see you at the rink.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks for having me.
That is Amanda Stein, Devils reporter, joining us, giving us the scoop on the New Jersey Devils. Appreciate that very much. Right around the corner from the locker room. And maybe some of the guys eavesdropping on her. She's great. Follow her on Twitter. And she's a very thorough reporter. And from Montreal, Nanso. She covered the Habs for a while.
I'm a little mad at Amanda. I reached out to her to join us on our show and crickets, but she joined us on the pregame show, so she's forgiven. But I'm going to hold a grudge until she joins us again. Is that fair?
That's fair. The Oilers and the Devils play March 13th, I think it is. So you can get her on ESD afternoons.
I just want to throw, some people are saying you're really loud, and then other people are saying you're kind of a little bit low. So can someone just say how Tommy's sounding? Because it's coming in there. I don't think you're loud at all, to be honest with you.
I changed my microphone, by the way. I had it selected as on the wrong mic, and I got it fixed. I got my actual mic going. So hopefully it's okay by now. I saw that. Zach
Maple Jed said too, that's better, Hernan. I didn't do anything. It was all Tom.
I fixed it. It was me. I blame myself. I've got my mic here. I had the wrong one used or selected on the damn program. We're good to go now. So that's my bad. I think I was using the one on my computer prior to that. So apologies. My own fault there. All right, now. So what'd you think of what Amanda had to say about the Devils? She knows her stuff, obviously.
Oh, yeah. It's interesting that because they went from Lindy Ruff, right? And then who took over? Travis Green, was it?
Travis Green took over a couple of years ago.
No, because
then it was Lindy Ruff.
Yeah. And then Lindy Ruff got let go. It was before the end of the season.
Then it was Green.
Yeah.
Wrap up the year. That's right.
But I find it interesting that she said that Sheldon Keefe's come in there and said no nonsense. Because I thought Lindy Ruff was that guy. But it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see. And, we had a reporter from New Jersey on, Christy Flannery, too. And she kind of said the same thing. So I'm a little intrigued because did you ever notice that in Toronto? Because I didn't, to be honest.
The no nonsense thing?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. Like Toronto is its own like wild animal. I don't know if you can really be you. You know what I mean?
It's a different
Toronto?
beast. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if like Keefe talked about it this morning. Was listening to him when he was doing his scrum this morning down at the rink, and he was talking about like knowing everybody and being in the organization in Toronto for so long, graduating through the Marlies, obviously after I think he was with Sault Ste. Marie prior to that, and then went to the Marlies. And so I don't know, different scenario. And that was his first crack at an NHL head coaching job. And Toronto, it's It's like Montreal, kind of maybe like Edmonton a little bit, but it's on a different level with how you have to do things. And maybe you can't really assert yourself 100% the way you want to. It takes a certain type of character to be able to do something like that, like a Mike Babcock, I guess. But no, this is a scenario where he comes in. They wanted him. He's been through the rigors of being a head coach with the Leafs. And I think that he can really take ownership of this group and do what Amanda said and be no nonsense. So that's interesting. It's the evolution of a coach is my outside perspective on a guy like Keefe in New Jersey.
No, good on him. I mean, he's got a lot of young stars there. Like, look at Nico Hischier. Like what we were talking about with Gager, Tommy. He's got 10 goals already. Like
I know he was leading the league.
That's unreal. And then Jack Hughes and I like their D. Luke Hughes is back in the lineup. He's a hell of a player as well. So I'm very intrigued. Not surprised they're not going with Mr. Jacob Markstrom because Jake Allen's getting the start, but you just have to look at his numbers against the Oilers. Different team, I get it, but it's the wise choice. So it's the battle of the backups. And you know what? Earlier on in the season, I'll admit I was always a little nervous when Pickard would go in, but I think he's played so well that I like. It's almost like if it was Skinner, and then I'm just kind of like, hey, he can get it done.
Mm-hmm. Pickard was really good against the Devils last year, Hernan. I think he got both wins, has a shutout lifetime against them. He's 4-0. That is his record against the Devils. Allen, I was listing his stats off against the Oilers. He's played the Oilers quite a bit over his career, obviously. 21 games played, 10 wins, 9 losses, 2 overtime losses, 268 goals against average, 905 save percentage. I'll go up to Markstrom. He has faced Edmonton 34 times in his career, obviously with Calgary for a handful of years and Vancouver prior to that for a while. 15, 17, and 2 is Markstrom's record with a 299 GA, 899 save percentage, 1 shutout. I think the bulk of those wins came as a member of the Canucks when the Oilers were, kind of figuring it out, but not really. The early part of the McDavid era. And then he goes to Calgary and they just absolutely light him up. That last year when the Oilers and Flames met in the postseason, forget last year, but the season where Edmonton and Calgary got together in the playoffs, they torched him in 9 games. They hit up Markstrom for 6+ goals 6 times that year, playoffs and regular season.
Yeah.
It was just like, whoa, they got his number.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's going to be, I'm like I said, I think this is the best game so far this season with that I think a lot of fans are excited for because you get to see, I wouldn't say young and up and coming. Well, sure. I mean, they missed the playoffs last year. They were in it the year before, but similar to the Oilers, right, Tom? Like last year was kind of they're hoping it's a one-off for them, but the Oilers got to be ready to go here. Like you said, with the lines there's a couple changes, not huge. I mean, Derek Ryan's going to play on the 4th line, and then Troy Setcher's going to come in and play with Nurse, a guy that I think both of us and Matt Kassian are okay with, and we're kind of surprised he was out of the lineup for the last 2 games. But I feel like this is Chris Knobloch. It's going to be a revolving door, especially with those 3 guys. Nurse is going to either have Dermott or Stetcher or Emberson, and it's going to be like in 2-3 game cycles. So it's definitely interesting. Another thing I'm noticing on the Nasty Chat, a lot of talk about Hemsky. What is going on the Nasty Chat, Tom?
What's the Hemsky talk all about?
I have no idea. I'll try to track down the where it got started, but it's an interesting topic, and then the Nasty Chat sometimes has its own mind, Tom.
You want to talk about a beast of its own? The Nasty Chat.
The Nasty Chat, yes.
All right, let's get some text going. Matt Kassian will be joining us in just under 10 minutes. He had the girls out power skating today after school, so he'll be hopping on for Game Changers right away. I want to get to a couple texts really quickly. Bad Billy texted in. Bad Billy says, "Hey, Tommy, it's going to be interesting to see how Ryan plays on that 4th line next to Philp. Boys have to play hard all 3 periods. Hopefully the 3rd line pops one and gets going." Couple things that Bad Billy mentioned there, Hernan. The 3rd line, you and I talked about it a bit post-game last night.
Yeah.
They have had no offense. I mean, Janmark got that goal into the empty net last night. That's good. He's got 3 points. He has the most points out of him, Henrique, and Brown. Brown and Henrique stuck on 1 goal each. I want to see offense from that trio. They have the capability. They just haven't done it. They've played safe. They don't take a ton of risk, but they possess offensive prowess, and they haven't really shown it. So that's something I'm on board with. And Bad Billy, I agree wholeheartedly to see that third line maybe get one. We saw the fourth line connect a couple games ago, which was great. And speaking of the fourth line, Bad Billy talking about Derek Ryan being back in the lineup, playing on a fourth line with Noah Philp. 2 right shot guys, Hernan, who can take faceoffs.
Yeah, because Noah Philp struggled yesterday in the faceoff.
Yes.
Let's just call it how it is. And we're not saying he played bad. I thought he was just okay, but he struggled there. But it's good. And on the case of Derek Ryan, a veteran guy, Tommy, in his mid to late 30s, I don't mind this because I think you're going to see a motivated Derek Ryan because now they have guys here that can take your spot. Right?
Right.
And where before at the start of the season, it was 12 forwards and you knew no one was coming out because you couldn't because there's no one here. So now I think not only for the vets, but for the younger guys, they're like, hey, when I get in there, I got to show what I can bring. And Derek Ryan probably wants to come out and have good shifts, but also be really good on the PK because the PK is the one part of their game that, one part of their game that really needs to step up. And he was a big part of it last year, and I think he wants to be a big part of it again this year, Tom. So I'm looking for a motivated Derek Ryan. Now, I'm not expecting him to come out and score a hattie or anything like that,
right.
But I'm intrigued to see how he plays tonight because now he knows that, hey, if I'm not at my best, I'm going to come out of the lineup. And he's not the only one.
Exactly. And we're talking about the speed thing too. Like Derek Ryan's not the most fleet of foot. I'm curious to see how he handles the speed and skill of the New Jersey Devils because we're talking earlier on the afternoon edition of Oil Stream. Like Drake Gazzola, he's got wheels still. He's been a little spark plug, but he didn't play a ton last night. An indicator that maybe he was coming out of action, and looks like that is going to be the case tonight. When the teams hit the ice for warm-up, we will update you. The Oilers, of course, did have a optional morning skate. McDavid was on the ice as part of that. What do you think, Hernan? Like, we talked to Connor after the skate when he was asked about this weekend. He's like, well, we'll see. We're taking it day by day. I feel like he kind of is not poo-pooed, but didn't seem like he was too gung-ho about Wednesday being a possibility against Vegas.
Yeah, it's always good, and I think on EST afternoons we said like when this guy gets hurt, it's amazing how quick he can heal. Tom, he's just different. But I guess this is the question I wanted to ask earlier for our audience was, do you want McDavid rush back? Like not rush because obviously Tom, I know McDavid wants to play, but let's say the Oilers take these next 2 games in Vancouver, does he really need to play that one and you can give him a few extra days? Or do you just want to see him come back and who cares? Like if he says he's good, obviously. But for me, is it time to rush him? Because the Oilers are playing well. It'd be different if they're on a 3-4 game losing streak, Tom. I would understand why, okay, let's come back earlier because they did say 2 to 3 weeks. It hasn't even been a week. It's been a week today.
A week today, that's right.
Yeah.
He's been on the ice a few times, obviously. I think that might be why they're a little coy, and then
if they're 0-2 going into Saturday, do you think the record in these next 2 games changes anything with McDavid?
I think so. Yeah. Absolutely.
So 2-0, they'll probably say we don't play the Vancouver game. Let's get ready for the 4 we have next week. Or if they're 0-2.
He kind of hinted at it too today. He's like, well, it's my body. I know if I'm good to go, if I'm not. He kind of hinted that like he's making the call as he should. Obviously, he's got a medical team around him.
Of course, best. Yeah.
But these signs are pretty encouraging. And listen, I know it wasn't game speed. I know he wasn't stopping and starting and battling in corners or anything like that. But he looked pretty good when he was skating this morning.
Well, you posted a video, and
I did.
Yeah, he looked normal, Tom. Like it looked like nothing was holding him back, right? Like to me, he was just Connor McDavid on the ice. Like
right.
There wasn't a noticeable loss of step or kind of him having a hard time turning or anything like that. He just looked normal. So it's a good sign. I'm just saying, like, if I don't know if you need to rush him back, and maybe rush is the wrong word, because obviously if McDavid thinks he can go Saturday, he's going to go. And I'm seeing a few messages on the Nasty Chat saying don't rush him back. So, I mean, you need him for the long haul here, and you don't want him to kind of come back too fast and then re-aggravate or re-injure, whatever term you want to use there, Tom. So it's going to be interesting.
All right, 780-218-9999. Get in the conversation. Text us. It is the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Oilers and Devils, 6:30 p.m. on Amazon Prime. Don't go, where the hell was the game? I couldn't find it on Sportsnet. Okay, it's on Amazon Prime. You need an account. You can get one. I think they have some free trials. You can do like 3 months. I think
Maddie said he's going to give everybody his password today on Twitter. So
he is? Lovely. Thank you, Matthew. That's fantastic.
It's crazy, Tom, that we're in this. I find it like, listen, I have Amazon Prime. I'm not stressing, but there's a lot of people that don't. And that kind of, it sucks, man, that you can't watch a regular season NHL game unless you have Prime. I think it's, and I get why they're doing it and all that, but Tom, it just feels like we're going back. Remember the pay-per-view games back in the day?
I do remember the pay-per-view games back in the day. Yeah, it is a little bit like that, but everything is on a subscription service now. The Major League Baseball games that were played on YouTube, those were obviously available to anybody, but they were just on YouTube for a few years. Prime and Amazon have been doing football games. Thursday Night Football has been on Prime. So this is not new in major sports in North America. In Canada, we're lucky that, TSN has the broadcast rights to the NFL and CTV, and they're allowed to broadcast those games nationally. But down in the States, you have to have Prime to watch Thursday Night Football. And now it's come to hockey. So we'll see how this goes. I think it's a bit of an experiment. We'll see. But I did watch the Habs and the the Habs and the Penguins on Prime. And it was good. It was just a nice, solid broadcast and streamed perfectly. So we'll see how it goes tonight. And obviously, we're going to ask people their thoughts on what they thought or how they perceived the broadcast following the game on the GCL Diesel post-game show. All right, Cass is trying to get in here. He's almost ready to rock. He
might have to reconnect.
He's gonna have to reconnect.
But he is in the building.
He's in the building. In the meantime, Nanso, portions of this hour brought to you by Hudson's, Canada's Pub. You're invited to watch any Oilers game at Hudson's, and they do their all-day happy hour. Also, they have the $5 house draft, and they feature their new blueberry blonde ale. Delicious. I love it. Book your reservation now, or just pop into Hudson's, Canada's Pub. You could book your reservations at hudsonscanadaspub.com. And like they mentioned to everybody, just come on down. It's a good time. We will be back at Hudson's on White Avenue on November 21st. We will also be back on location at Boston Pizza Westgate. That's 170th Street and 90th Ave across the street from West Edmonton Mall on November 16th when the Oilers take on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Lots of phenomenal giveaways at BP. Tony likes to give out T-shirts and jackets and all kinds of prizing. You got a 49ers thing from Tony, didn't you?
I did. I got a nice shirt and a little glass for, on the rocks drink or so. So pretty cool, man. A little sip. Cass is ready.
Cass is ready to go. He is our game analyst. He is Matt Kassian. He has just finished power skating. Cass brought to you, as always, by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent, top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find the right home or make the move from your current home. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Cass, how was power skating?
It was good. Yeah, she's getting there. She's getting there. So yeah, she's doing good. But before we go any further, Norm and the Combine crew, if you're watching, I'm gonna stand up and get a little close here.
Combine crew, what up? You did
Combine crew, what up? You guys can't say I never worn it because I worn it and I worn it live. So no more complaining. Not that I think you're complaining, Norm, but we appreciate you. Yeah. We appreciate you showing up at events and the golf tournament and all that. So wearing it for you and the boys tonight.
Speaking of the boys, Bryce the Sparky, part of the Combine crew, says, Tommy, Podkolzin is going to get one tonight. Do you like his chances, Cass?
Hey, he's managed to create a little bit of offense. Yeah, why not? Why not? It'd be good to see him get one. So let's say yes, for sure. He's got good chances. Let's give him a 75% chance. That's a pretty good chance.
There you go. Manifest
absolutely
positivity. All right, Cass, let's get into it. Game changers number 1 for Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. Inside out forecheck. Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. I think more than the last number of games, having a good forecheck against the New Jersey Devils is, I don't want to say it's imperative, but it's huge. You know, they have some guys up front that have some speed. You know, Jack Hughes, a wonderful young player, fantastic young player, a lot of talent. And even their top line with Meyer and Hershier and Mercer, they have some speed. Jesper Bratt as well, small guy, slick guy, but has a lot of speed. They're a group that likes to generate off the rush. And for the Edmonton Oilers, trying to slow them down really does come down to, I think, protecting the middle of the ice, even on the forecheck. Now, we saw Edmonton get a goal in their first shift with a good forecheck. Arvidsson forechecking inside out, so pushing the puck to the outside. You had good seal on the wall that turned the pucks over with Podkolzin, and then obviously the quick play to Leon Draisaitl for the goal. You need to see more of that. I think if you want to slow this team down, you know, establishing a good forecheck is imperative. That doesn't mean running guys over, although it is good to get bumps on guys like Dylan and Dougie Hamilton and some of the other New Jersey defensemen. You want to hit them when you can, but even more importantly is trying to force the puck into areas that aren't going to give the New Jersey Devils all kinds of speed to generate off the rush. So that inside-out forecheck tonight, absolutely imperative.
We'll see if the Oilers can establish that as they take on the Devils. That was number 1, inside-out forecheck. On Game Changers, numero 2, back pressure sort-outs. Cass.
Yeah, this is the second half of that, is that sorting out the back pressure. And this has been an area that over the last couple of years, if I was going to pick defensively when the Edmonton Oilers struggle, and when we can clearly see them struggle and we know it's not going to be a good game, it's a gong show coming back to their own end. Everyone's all over the place. There's not a lot of communication. Who's taking who? No one's picking up this guy. 2 guys are taking that guy, and it's a mess. Again, against the New Jersey team that I think has the ability to put up some points in the offensive zone and to generate off of the rush. You know, the forecheck's the first part of that. The second part is when they do have some speed coming out of the zone, how are you sorting out coming back into your own end? You know, the communication has been, it feels like it's been steadily improving the last little bit for the Edmonton Oilers. And again, I think a huge component to this game tonight is going to be Edmonton's ability to figure out who's taking who, making sure that some of those defensemen, again, like a Dougie Hamilton, who loves to sneak in, loves to be the 4th guy in the rush, figuring out where he is on the ice, making sure that the wingers, the center, and the defensemen are all yelling at each other. They're all talking. They know who's who, and they know where the dangerous guy is, and they're eliminating some of those opportunities that New Jersey loves to get off the rush.
The Devils, not 5 on 5, just in total, 3.57 goals per game. That's 10th best in the NHL. If you're going, well, where the heck are the Oilers? They're still bottom 3rd at 28th at 2.58 goals per game, but we're starting to see a little bit more offense from the orange and blue. That's a good sign indeed. All right, it is Game Changers with our game analyst, Matt Kassian. Game Changers, as always, brought to you by Damon Bunting Remax Elite. If you have any questions or thoughts for Cass, send them our way, 780-218-9999, or get in the nasty chat. Someone was chirping my Cardinals. They're on a 3-game heater, baby. Bird Gang. Look out. Number 3, Cass. 3rd line setup. Speaking of threes.
Speaking of threes, yeah, that 3rd line, and we talked about it on the post-game show yesterday, where, you know, it's not like they've been bad. They haven't dragged the team down, but at some point you need to rely on some other people aside from Leon Draisaitl to generate some offense. Now that Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Skinner, and Hyman line, they managed to put up a goal for you last game. It's that 3rd line's turn, Tom. They've been a little bit quiet. Now that, again, not always a bad thing that you have a 3rd line that's quiet, because generally that means they're not getting scored on. You know, they're not spending too much time in their own zone, and you're not complaining about them. Not a bad thing. However, we haven't really seen them chip in for a little bit yet. Now, they've been a line that at times has been very good this year, and then they've gone a little quiet like they are right now. But that third line of Janmark, Henrique, and Brown, we want to see them start to generate a little bit more offensively. Would be nice if they can get pucks to the net, use some of the speed, because they have decent speed with Brown and Janmark on that line. Those guys can move. Playing against a team that has some speed in the New Jersey Devils, Tom, a huge opportunity for that group to step it up.
I am trying to get Amazon Prime on my studio TV here, so I'm trying to go through the process as we roll along on Game Changers. We'll see how difficult it is. Hopefully, it's super easy.
Cass, do you have Prime?
We do. I have a wife, so yeah.
Like
Stupid question, Cass. I'm so sorry. That's a dumb question.
Well, here it is. It's right on the screen. Oilers versus Devils tonight, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Mountain. It's right at the front. There it is. Watch live. Boom. Away you go if you have Amazon Prime. So, yes, indeed. That was Game Changers with inside-out forecheck, number 1. Number 2, back pressure sortouts. Number 3, third line setup. Nan, so you got anything for Cass tonight?
Oh, I was just asking him if he had Prime, but that was a very dumb question on my end. But
no, it's still a good question.
Because I asked Gager too, and he just kind of gave me a look. I'm like, I'm so sorry. That's just ridiculous.
Well, you got to remember that we're huge nerds, and so like Lord of the Rings was on Prime, so even for me, I'm like, well, you got to get it. But that's the way of it. I know you guys talked about it. We'll talk about it again after. I'm sure evaluate the broadcast and talk about it. But hey, this is the way it's going. At some point, we're going to see more and more of this. Those streaming services that are going to go after you. And it's going to get a little more tricky to watch all the hockey games, but watch them. We shall.
We shall indeed. All right, Cass, I want to ask you this one. Rowdy Roddy chiming in. We haven't heard from Rowdy Roddy a ton in the last little while. Says, hey, boys, Derek Ryan is by far one of the most underrated players on this team. He delivers in clutch situations. Come on. What do you make of Derek Ryan getting back into the lineup and then also providing a second right shot face-off option as well?
Yeah, well, you want to get some rotation. You want to get some guys in. Now, Drake Caggiula he's been solid, actually, since he's been in the lineup. But you don't want Derek Ryan sitting there too long. It does give you a little bit of an option there. But listen, a veteran guy doesn't make too many mistakes. But he kind of had a little bit of a flat start to the season, I'd say, where he's been just kind of there and just kind of okay. But it does give them an option, depending on how Philp is doing. Gives a guy that has some veteran know-how. Not that Drake Caggiula doesn't, but Derek Ryan, particularly, if he ends up playing on the wing, he is a pretty cerebral player. Like, he thinks the game well positionally. Generally, he doesn't get caught out of position that often, but he is at times this year I kind of found it, I think, difficult to really contribute and to have much of an impact. Not that you're always going to have a ton of impact as a fourth line guy, but right. you don't want him sitting there too long. So yes, Caggiula can come out, Ryan can go back in. He has a little bit of speed, and maybe you're looking again at this New Jersey team saying, okay, you know what? We want to be really good in our defensive zone. We want to be good coming back into the zone. Having another centerman or a guy that typically plays center on that line, it helps Philp out, and it helps that fourth line out, and that, you're back checking, you're coming back into your own zone. Having a centerman that can be down low if he's the first guy back in Ryan, a secondary centerman, so he can play low if he needs to. I think it helps Philp out, if he's not stuck to try to switch. So just a little note on a tactic standpoint, generally you want your centerman playing low, so shifting in front of the net into that support position in both of the corners if the other team has the puck. As a winger, you're usually, if you're the guy that's there, you want to be comfortable there, but you still like your centerman to be there. That's the reason that they're your centerman. Usually they're better skaters. Usually they are just a little more comfortable playing down low in their own zone. Having Ryan in that position just gives you maybe a little bit more comfort where, if Philp is the first guy in the forecheck and he's not the first guy back in zone, Ryan can play down low and you're just a little bit more comfortable as a defensive unit when you're in your own zone. And that may be the thought behind it, on top of, you don't want him getting too rusty and sitting out too much.
Right. Well said, as always. Matt Kassian, Tom Gazzola, Hernan Salas with you on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show, Oilers and Devils on Amazon Prime tonight. Boys, my cable box froze. It's the one that connects to the Wi-Fi. So literally I saw an image of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and now I have to restart the damn thing. So we're not off to a great start on Prime here. Let's go to the Oilers lineup really quickly. We just heard Cass break down Derek Ryan and his ability to contribute on the fourth line with Philp and Perry. Perry looks like he'll be on the left side of that line. On defense, Ekholm with Bouchard, Kulak with Emberson, Nurse with Stetcher, Cass. Do you like Dermott coming out, Troy Stetcher going in tonight?
Well, similar to Ryan, you don't want guys getting too stale. You want to get a little bit of a rotation in. Now, what I will say is we saw Kulak get a bunch of shifts with Nurse last game, and I liked Kulak's game with Nurse. Like, I thought they looked pretty good out there together as a pair. So you're going here. Probably the thought behind this one is, again, a little bit of mobility. Troy Stetcher probably skates a little bit better than Dermott, and that is most likely the justification here to say, okay, we have a guy that's been out of the lineup. Yes, we won, but we can move a guy in that maybe gives us a little bit more mobility against a New Jersey team. Again, that comes with a lot of speed. They like to attack. They're aggressive. They're offensive. And having a little extra foot speed may help you out a little bit. And that's the thought there. And, he's a righty. You're not going to force Emberson to play in his offside, which is where Kulak then slides down to that third pair. But we'll have to see. If Stetcher is struggling, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you see Kulak step into that spot, and a pretty heavy rotation in the top four in terms of minutes, playing a lot more than the bottom pair. But it just probably depends on how the game's going, how the Oilers are playing,
right.
What type of tempo New Jersey is bringing tonight, and overall who has the lead, who's winning, who's playing well.
Last night it was Emberson and who else? Dermott that were below. They were around 12, 13 minutes each, and then Kulak stepped up with a 20-plus minute night. So too did Ekholm and Bouchard, as well as Darnell Nurse. So good point there on that front. I do have Amazon Prime. It's not frozen anymore. It's working. They're showing all of warm-up. It's very interesting, very different. They're showing the Devils and some kids with Devils jerseys with looked like chocolate ice cream all over his face, but very different. Looks clean, HD. And we'll see how the broadcast goes tonight between the Oilers and the Devils on Amazon Prime. There are a few texts that came in that I wanted to get to. Taco says, hopefully the Devils come out flat after hanging out for the last few days in Canmore. So they got some team bonding in. And then the rookie does not like the Prime thing. The rookie says, guys, putting hockey games behind a paywall, a.k.a. paid streaming service, not a great way to grow the game. I understand that. I get it, but I don't know if they're necessarily thinking of growing the game.
Nope, not in Canada, Tom. They're not thinking about growing the game in Canada. They're thinking about cash money.
That's how they're growing the game.
Yep.
That's the difference. So they know people will find a way to watch up here in Canada, and it's about making that dollar bills, down in the U.S. All right. Nan, so anything for Cass that you want to throw his way, or are you good?
No, I think you guys covered everything. Perfectly. I'm just looking forward to this game. I'm really intrigued to see how the Oilers handle the Devils tonight. So,
all right, I got one more for Cass because it was the question of the night, and Hernan brought it up. Connor McDavid's looking good. Cass skated again this morning. Talked to us after the skate. Did not say no to playing this weekend in Vancouver. Are you surprised? How do you think they'll go about handling it? What do you think the odds are he's playing in that game this weekend?
Am I surprised? Well, yes and no. I mean, guys like that. I mean, you have to realize they're like neurological freaks, and I mean that in the best sense possible. It's like they're mutants, or something. If there were X-Men in the real world, Connor McDavid would be one of them, because it's just. Erik Karlsson was the same way. For whatever reason, they recover faster, they heal quicker. It's their bodies they're just special. They're special athletes. So no, I am not shocked. But at the same time, it was quick to come back, depending on the severity of it. With that being said, if it's a sprain, depending on how comfortable it is in the boot, you have a lot of support with skates and modern skates where it's like if you tape it up and you get them in there, as long as you're not going to re-aggravate, maybe he does play. I would think it's a little early, if you had that 2 to 3 week timeline to come back. And, personally, it's like the Oilers have been playing all right. I want to see McDavid get fully healthy. Don't want this to be something lingering or ongoing. And that's probably the judgment call they'll have to make is, will he aggravate, and is it going to be a lingering issue if you have him play this weekend?
Well, yeah, it's going to be curious to see. Are you okay? Are you okay, Cass?
I'm good. I just had something in my throat, so I needed to cough, and I was trying to
there.
get the rest of that sentence out without just blowing up your guys' eardrums.
You got through it just fine. Great stuff as always, my friend. Enjoy the game, and that Combine Crew t-shirt looked great.
Real good, Norm. Thank you again.
There you go. Representing the Combine Crew tonight, it is our game analyst, Matt Kassian, with Game Changers, the Oilers and the Devils. Going tonight, the team's just walking off the ice after warm-up, and they will be ready to rock and roll down at Rogers Place. All right, Hernan, we've got time for a few more texts and some more thoughts. I'll throw out the out-of-town scores as well. 7 games. Oh, no, just 2 games on the schedule tonight. Yesterday was 7. No score between LA and Nashville in Nashville. That game 7 minutes in. And then you've got the Oilers and the Devils. Actually, I really like what they're doing with this broadcast. Like, they're showing behind-the-scenes stuff. There's kids giving fist bumps to the Oilers as they make their way back from the ice down the tunnel to the locker room. They're showing crowd shots. Like, it looks cool. I don't know what they're saying, obviously, because I'm listening to our show as we go through it. But to me, this is pretty neat.
Yeah, I saw the Toronto one a few weeks back, and it was pretty cool. It's different for sure.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I know a lot of people are not because not everybody has Prime or whatever. But
right.
I mean, it's I don't know, Tom. I mean, I don't know how I feel about this whole thing, but it is what it is. We'll see how the broadcast is, the quality, the intermissions, all that. So I'm sure we'll have a lot to pick apart about this first game on Amazon for the Oilers. We'll have some fun with it because if you're just going off what the nasty in the inbox is saying, a lot of people are not happy about this, Tom.
Yeah, I could see that. I understand. Johnny Alberta says watching the warm-up is a bit like being at the rink, but not quite as intriguing. Interesting.
I don't think when I'm live, I really like. It's rare that I watch a warm up. If I'm there not as media, but as just in the stands, Tom. Like it's a warm up, man. What's there to watch?
It's a warm up. I don't know. It's just a different perspective. Joaquin Gage in the nasty chat says, "Tommy, you have Prime, or is it your mom's account?" Shut up, Gager.
Dusty on Twitter says, so there's no pregame show on Prime? It's just a countdown and live shots? Am I missing something or watching the wrong feed? No, that's the right feed.
No, that's it. Yeah.
It's the new way. Who needs a pregame? You got us.
You've got us. That's right. We've had a great show. Amanda Stein was excellent, and so too was Cass and Nan. So it's always fun here on the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Let's get to a couple of texts to wind things down here. The Wolf says, we know that our leadership core likes to spend extra time on the ice, and now we get reports that Kulak is spending extra time on the ice. Is this the showing of leadership rubbing off on the young guys trying to reach that next level? Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I guess so. Positivity. Interesting question, the Wolf. Yeah, putting in extra work, working on other things, showing commitment. Nobody's going to complain about that. That's for sure. What else do we have? Okay. You're talking about fans that don't like this whole Prime thing. It's Mark in Sun City West, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix. Says, hey, Tom, Mark here in Sun City West, Arizona. I have to lay it out there. This Prime thing sucks. YouTube TV dropped the NHL Network. Games here on ESPN Plus are crappy enough with their blackouts and laggy streams. What's next? Apple TV sports feeds for more money? Let's go Oilers tonight. Keep this going. I think Apple TV does MLS right now. So it's already happening. It is already happening. We'll see how this goes. We'll get everyone's thoughts post-game, and we'll break it all down. And I'm curious to see what people have to say about this Amazon Prime thing. First one for the Oilers. I think they have 3 more after this. Monday nights are the night for the NHL to be on Amazon Prime. And that's what the NFL has done with Thursday Night Football. Justin Texan says, good evening, Tony. Hello, Justin. Thank you. And then Looney Len talking about McDavid says, the good old hyperbolic chamber does wonders. Nanso, I want to throw this last one to you. It comes in from Stu, who asks, what have you guys thought of Kajula's play since returning? Also, if Knobloch decides to run with Kulak, Nurse as a pair, who do you think will play most of the games on the bottom pair with Emerson? Got to think it will be Dermott, considering Stetcher is a right-handed defenseman. What would you tell Stu?
Caggiula's been fine. I mean, he had a good look yesterday. I thought in the first game with Nashville, him and Phil both played pretty well. They both got a point. So, yeah, for me, he's that classic 13th, 12th, 13th, 14th forward, Tom. If you're going to ask me Derek Ryan or Drake Caggiula, I'd lean more towards Derek Ryan because he kills penalties. He's been around this group longer. So, for me, I think he's just been fine. And kudos to him, Tom. He came into camp as a guy that I don't think any of us had playing games for the Oilers this year. I totally forgot he was still part of the organization. I know they signed him last offseason. So good on him. He made himself noticeable. He made himself get the first call up. And like I said, he's going to be in and out. And once McDavid comes back, I think he's the first one going down because I think Noah Philp, they like him a little bit more, a little bit younger, better on the faceoff. Thought they'll keep him over Drake Caggiula. But can't complain. Good on the guy, man, for coming here and earning a job with the big club as one of the first call-ups.
The defenseman question that Stu had, I think that they're going to keep Kulak on his own pairing with one of those guys. And then if the game gets tight, like we saw last night in the third period, they'll shorten the bench for the blue line. It's holding right now, that patchwork D. But obviously, they're going to want to upgrade and get another defenseman, maybe even two. Who knows? But obviously, one more D-man, a top four type of defenseman is the goal.
You don't want Kulak. Yeah,
yeah.
Keep him where on that third.
The other thing, too, maybe we see some growth in Ty Emberson. He just hit 40 games in the NHL last night. Maybe something good comes out of that, but it's going to take more time. That's for sure. So we'll see. Sure. They're going to play it by ear, but right now it's working. They have 6 wins in their last 9 games. They've rattled off 2 straight. They went 3-1 on that road trip, and now they begin a brief 2-game homestand starting tonight against the Devils. That's going to do it for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show. Big thank you to Amanda Stein, Devils reporter, for hopping on right off the hop on the show as Cass was making his way home from power skating. Apparently it went well, and great stuff from Cass as always. For Matt Kassian and Hernan Salas, I'm Tom Gazzola. Say thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you. Enjoy the Oilers game on Amazon Prime. We'll all circle back here for the post-game show. Ciao for now.